Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with a new Korra series. This is going to be my Legend of Korra Book 2 Spirits episode commentaries, and this is the first one for K201 Rebel Spirit, the first episode of Book 2 Spirits. Since this is the first episode, I'm going to first explain what this series is about so no one's confused about what I'm actually doing. This is a fan commentary series, so it's just going to be myself for all of these. It's got nothing official to do with like DVDs, official commentaries. They more than likely will come on the Book 2 Spirits DVD Blu-ray sets when they eventually are announced and come out. This is just my own thoughts on this. I did it for Book 1, I've done it for most of the Avatar The Last Airbender episodes. I'm doing it for Book 2 now. And what I'm going to talk about and what's going to make this, I suppose, interesting for you is that I'll be giving kind of like character analysis, story analysis as I watch the episode, and as well as that, point out some trivia points and maybe something you didn't notice about the episode and stuff like that. I'm just coming at this from a fan perspective that those official commentaries tend not to really focus too much on the character stuff and stuff like that. They tend to be more production focused type of thing, but anyway, that's the aim of this series. I can't, for legal reasons, and I don't want to get copyright strikes on my channel, I can't put the actual episode visuals up on screen for you. So the aim of this series is that you watch the episode yourself with the episode volume turned down, and my this commentary track as the audio for the episode, basically. And so I'm going to explain to you now how you actually sync up this commentary track with the episode. I'm going to stop speaking in about a minute, and when I start speaking again, that's when the commentary track will start. That's when I will have hit play on my version of the episode, and that's when you should hit play on yours. So when I pause here in a moment, that's when you should get ready to press play on your episode. Get it ready at the start, including the intro of the series, the whole Avatar bit with the fire, earth, air, water. Get ready to press play there. And then, obviously this will be during a kind of silence, and so when I start speaking again after that silence ends, that's when you hit play. So I'm going to kind of stop speaking now, and then just hit play the next time I start speaking. Okay, so here we are. Here's the intro to the Legend of Korra. It's the same as Book 1. Nothing has changed going into Book 2. That's to be expected. Exact same thing they did with Avatar The Last Airbender. They didn't change the opening at all, except for the first 2 episodes of the show when Aang wasn't on the rock at the start, he was on in the next episode. But anyway, we get a brief intermission kind of thing here between the 2 series, explaining President Raiko has taken over kind of as the leadership of Republic City. They've elected their own president, which in my opinion is what the resolution of the whole Equalist plot is, in that what better way to actually solve that than just having everyone in the city elect their own president, benders and non-benders alike. Non-benders make up the majority of the city, so they choose their own president, and Raiko is a non-bender, but we don't see him for much later. What I really like about the opening of Book 2 Spirits is that we get this scene here with the 2 fishermen, that characters that we don't really know, but it's set up for the whole dark spirit thing. It's got nothing to do with our main characters, but it affects them because it's events happening in the world that Korra hasn't been told about. And I find that a really interesting way that they opened the series, something they haven't done before. And then here's the scene I'm sure everyone saw in the lead up to Book 2. It was one of our first preview clips for the episode, and we see Pro Bending. Bolin is giving the captain's speech, and you're wondering, why is he doing it? Usually Mako's the leader of the team, but then we see that they're not the Fire Ferrets, they're just the new Fire Ferrets. That's not Korra and Mako. Interesting that they changed the kind of thing around. The girl is the firebender in this case, the boy is the waterbender. But yeah, this is a key point in Bolin's kind of story arc over the course of the season, in that he has no idea what he wants to do with his life. He thinks pro-bending is that thing, but pro-bending doesn't work for him unless he has Mako and Korra with him, a team to kind of go with, and he's kind of realizes there and then that he needs Mako in this case, and that's going to be key in his journey, how much he's going to need his friends, and like, can he do stuff on his own over the course of his journey. But from there, we transition into this scene, which is obviously Mako showing that he's become a police officer in United Republic, which says a lot about equality, I suppose, in the city and the police force. It used to be only metal benders, but now clearly firebenders are allowed on the police force, and I assume other benders and even non-benders are allowed on it as well. Make up for the weakness that Amon exploited. But just kind of a big epic moment for Mako at the start of the book, and just they really do a good job of trying to kind of show that you may not have liked him that much last season, but he's a pretty cool guy. The one-liners there. Good thing the police are here. That's nice. We continue the trend of kind of meeting up with our main kind of cast of characters here with Sami. I like the whole idea of starting the book with a kind of refresher course on where these characters are right now at the start of book 2. And with Asami, we see that she's taking control of Future Industries and is trying to get things back up and running, get the company back on top. She's using Hiroshi's invention of, aircraft, but for more of a kind of the next automobile type thing, flying automobiles. That's her kind of plan for the company, and it's a really good idea. But Hiroshi's obviously destroyed the reputation of the company. There's some really nice stuff going on in the episode. Then we switch to Korra and the Air Kids on Air Temple Island. We see straight away that while Korra has kind of mastered the Avatar state, she's not using it properly. Tenzin is going to give her a hard time for this over the course of this kind of episode, but it's a whole thing of their conflict over the course of the whole book. Tenzin and Korra, he's very harsh on her. He's almost treating her like one of his own kids when they're meant to have this student mentor role, and as much as he's meant to be her spiritual mentor, he's kind of giving her a really hard time, and she doesn't really respond to it that well. It's interesting how it develops, and this is where it starts in this book. And then we get that she thinks she's mastered airbending, but that was kind of firebending form as opposed to airbending form, and that also will develop over the course of the book. It's not a huge plot point, but you definitely see Korra using airbending properly over the course of the book. And Boomy is a character, obviously, we met him for a few seconds last season. We're finally getting a lot of time with him, and he really kind of shows how interesting of a character he is this time around. I love the little chibi Tenzin head on the map there. It's interesting. And this kind of goes back to my previous point that Tenzin is treating Korra like one of his kids. She has to go with them on this journey. It's not as much a kind of student-teacher thing. He's bringing her along because she has to go with him on this kind of vacation. And there's just it's something Tenzin needs to kind of learn as well, how to be a better teacher to Korra. He thinks he needs to give her more attention. She doesn't quite want that. She wants just to be taught what she needs to know, and Tenzin's more interested in teaching her the kind of theoretical side to things. But then there's a setup of they're going back to the Southern Water Tribe for the Glacial Spirits Festival, and she knows how to get on the good side of the kids. It's just some nice character development. And then there's the kind of start of the kind of ribbing between the Katang siblings. Just really nice line there. This I think is a really good scene for the Korra relationship, just showing that they are a couple now and that they actually work reasonably well as a couple. And I've never really had a problem with the two of them being together. I love the whole idea of Mako reading out these one-liners to her, and then the one that Korra likes is the one that he's going to use next time. It's just this nice little thing to show they're a really good couple, and then they're kind of giving each other advice on their problems. We see the kind of first of a trio of scenes of Mako giving Korra advice and her not liking what he says the first two times, but ultimately he gets it right in the end, and just really showing the difficulty of the position that Korra's in as the Avatar with regards to just how does she deal with her teaching and stuff like that. But it develops over the course of the book, her and Mako, and him not really knowing how to give her this avatar advice that she needs. But in the end, part of their breakup that happens later on is, him not quite respecting her role and the difficulty of it. And then we meet Tonrock. We've met him before, but this is the first time we really get to know him. It's just a really nice, like, typical, boyfriend meeting the father moment. It works well. And then here's the introduction of some of our new characters in Unalaq and his twins, Eska and Desna. And the line from Tonrock there clearly setting up that there's bad blood between these two siblings, which going into the series we knew was because Unalaq is the chief of both tribes, and we're wondering, when did that happen? As far as we were aware, they were kind of both individualistic, but clearly Paku and the Northerners helping the South has meant that the Northerners kind of took control overall. But just a funny moment there between the twins, who really do look very identical, and it's only like Eska's eyeshadow that really signifies she's the girl. Yep, there's some heat between the two brothers here. It's just really kind of shown very well in this opening episode. And then straight away Unalaq into talking about how the world has lost connection to the spirits, especially the South, while the Northerners are very spiritual. He's all about spirituality. And as we develop over the course of this book, we find out that he really looks down on humanity kind of as a whole, and really his quest to be spiritual isn't so much to respect the spirits, but almost a quest to become one, which is ultimately what happens in the end. And a lot of people don't quite understand that, but especially in some of the final episodes of this book, it becomes really clear that he just does not like the rest of humanity, to the point where he turns on his own kids and puts spirits ahead of humanity, which is interesting. And again, here's the start of the whole thing. Everyone gets a say in Korra's training except Korra. And this really gets her angry over the course of the episodes, especially the early ones. And it allows her to develop a bit as well, because she's partly right, she's partly wrong, just like Tenzin and Tonrock are partly right and wrong as well. Here's something that doesn't quite go that far over the course of the book, but we do meet Varric here. I did expect more from the whole Asami-Varric business plot in this book, but it kind of fell off in the second half of the book. Again, it wasn't the biggest part of the whole season, but these opening scenes at least are very nice. It's set up for the whole Bolin Varric kind of connection that goes on throughout the book. He's the only one that's going to tell Varric the truth, because everyone thinks he's the most powerful person in the world, and they're going to lie to him, and he fires the guy over it. And ultimately, Bolin's kind of inexperience in these business situations is what gets Asami in Varric's good books. Varric is just a really fun character, and definitely one of the standout new stars of the book. Just in how odd, random he is, but also a really important player in this book in how much he helps Team Avatar, even though it's ultimately to further his own goals. And here's the setup for movers, and we see Julie there as well. She's one of the favorite minor characters. I believe this whole ostrich horse as being the first kind of moving picture is a reference to real life. I think a horse being the first moving picture or something like that, but that's a nice bit reference, I think. And here's Ginger, who we meet here, and we don't get to know her too well, but we do get more of her in later episodes. She kind of becomes a romance kind of plot in the book, but for the most part is really there just to be the kind of typical movie star, while Bolin is the one that we have emotional connection to. And here's Asami learning how Varric does business, and it's not how she usually expects to do business. She's all serious, and he's just a complete oddball in this whole situation. Rocket boat rides, and we do get to see the rocket boat pretty much later on, but interesting. And she's happy that Bolin made this business meeting a success. And there's almost a kind of romance set up there. I think a lot of people thought that was what was going to happen, but obviously it's Bolin and Eska, which is the thing. And Unalak, I definitely find one of probably the most interesting new character in the book, apart from Juan, but very interesting how he progresses over the course of the book, in that you're wondering when he's going to turn evil, but he's not quite saying anything overly evil, which over the course of the whole book reveals itself that he's not fully wrong in what he says, that humans need to become more spiritual, and ultimately it's what he's saying that Korra eventually changes in the world. She keeps the portals open and stuff like that, but her finding out about this lie is key to this book. A lot of people use the word brat to describe Korra in these opening episodes, but when she finds out something that important that's been kept from her whole life, that's resulted in her being basically kept isolated and alone for like 13 years of her life, it's a really big moment that her father lied to her, her mentor lied to her, and the reason she only found friends like 6 months ago in universe is because of that decision. And instantly it puts her kind of on the road of kind of like, I need to trust this guy. He's the only one kind of telling me the truth. He's the only one trying to kind of help me in the way I want to be helped. And here he starts talking about stuff like spiritual decay in the world, and he definitely over exaggerates what's wrong, but in many ways he is right, and the world does need to become more spiritual. And Korra's journey over the course of this book really kind of, I suppose, is important with that in mind, that she becomes more spiritual. She kind of represents what most people are like in the world now, not too spiritual. But the fact that she does become spiritual shows that there's, hope for the world and stuff like that. Here's the carnival scene, just some cute Makora moments, and obviously the first uh, Boesca moments as well. At this point, I'll make a note about. Obviously, this is Studio Pierrot's first episode on Korra. Studio Mir obviously had the whole delay because they were animating Boondocks and only came back on board for Beginnings, which is episode 7 and 8. Then they basically did the rest of the book apart from the guide. I don't think there's too much of an issue with their animation. Mir are definitely the superior studio, but it's not blatantly obvious that there's anything wrong with the animation. It's just slightly different. It's still really high quality compared to everything else. But this is the first time we really get to see these two characters talking, Eska and Desna. Audrey Plaza voicing Eska does just an amazing job at just making this new character interesting with these kind of amazing one-liners and the delivery of these one-liners. Nice use of Chibi-Ang, Chibi-Momo there. And then the prize that she wins is going to be kind of Chibi-Appa. It's just a nice reference here. And here's the second one of those scenes where kind of Mako kind of steps his foot in it in terms of their relationship. She wants advice from him, and he tries to kind of respond to what the first piece of advice was, but goes too far the other way, and she's not happy with it. It's you definitely feel for Mako here, but at the same time you feel for Korra, because that was a tough blow to hear that her father and Tenzin have been lying to her for so long. Even her mother kind of didn't say anything about it. And then you see the kind of troubles in their relationship. I don't think ultimately anything too bad goes wrong with their relationship that would lead to the end breakup that we get in the finale. But it kind of just seems like these early episodes especially do more to kind of say that they're actually a strong relationship than one that can fall apart at any time. But here's obviously Korra's first meeting with the dark spirits and stuff like that. I think at this stage she's found out about the boats being attacked and stuff like that. And I think Studio Pierrot, they really do a good job at animating these dark spirits as well. It's really well done, and even they do fight scenes really well. And they're some of those standout scenes in terms of animation. But yeah, these dark spirits really interesting in terms of like when we eventually find out that what dark spirits are is kind of light spirits turned this way by excess of amount of darkness in the world. It's interesting to see like what does this spirit look like as a light spirit and stuff like that. It's some interesting things here. But it's just interesting to see that this spirit completely outclasses all of these benders. So this is clearly a pretty powerful spirit. And then even there, like Korra was she was on the defensive, yes, but she was about to attack again, and then her father comes in to protect her, almost as if he has no faith in her. He's not just being protective; he's being overprotective, which I think is a key point to make with Tonrock in these opening 2 episodes. Korra eventually gets tossed away, Tonrock gets hit, and then Tenzin comes in to try a different approach. He ultimately is meant to be her spiritual mentor along with Jinora, but just seeing him get swatted away is, what really makes Korra go Avatar State time. And while it doesn't have the same level of like epicness as say an Avatar, The Last Airbender Avatar State moment, it's still pretty powerful just to see that Korra is really powerful in this state, even though the power levels are a little bit kind of lowered in this case, obviously because Korra is not perfectly spiritual just yet. But then we get this, and I think this is my favorite moment of the whole first episode. The really nice music, the really traditional waterbending style. Unalaq just comes in and uses what we later find out is effectively light bending technique. It's waterbending utilizing the kind of healing properties, but in a more kind of balance between light and dark energy sort of way to change the energies of this spirit. It's a really nice scene as just violence didn't work. It was this kind of almost beautiful technique that ultimately is the thing that kind of doesn't defeat the spirit, but just kind of changes it, allows it to kind of turn into light. It's he says "go in peace," which bookmarks the series in a way. He shows her the key to defeating him in the finale in the first episode, and they both say "go in peace" as like a sign of respect almost. It's really interesting. And we see here that he's clearly trying to manipulate situations. He only told her about the lie to get into her kind of head and try to manipulate her. And he doesn't want her to go off with Tenzin because obviously then he won't be able to use her to open the portals, which is a key point in the whole plot of the book. A lot of people say that there's very little plot going on, very little story going on the first few episodes. But once you actually find out about harmonic convergence and the importance of the portals in beginnings, it puts a lot of story into the opening few episodes. Now, Korra, the one thing I will say about Korra is that she's very harsh on especially Tenzin here, where she just dismisses him as her teacher. But at the same time, he's the only one who's proven himself to be able to take her on this next step in her journey. And in the end of the book, you look at this scene and don't go, that was a huge mistake for her. Ultimately, going with Unalaq really helped her. And Tenzin's obviously not too gonna like argue too much about it. He respects her decision here, and she's gonna let Unalaq teach her. But they're still going off on their own, and this is a nice scene here with the family. He wants to go with his family, but then she points out to him, "These two are your family too. I'm your family too." And this moment made me, I think the whole fandom go, is Katara gonna die at this episode? But then you realize, nope, if Aunt Wu is correct, it means one of Tenzin's kids has to have kids before that happens. So she's still got some gas left in the tank. And it's just a nice moment as like Tenzin just accepts it. Okay, let's have not just my own family bonding time, but my siblings as well as they go off. And I like that they cut to this scene afterwards. Korra's kind of been harsh to her father and mentor, but then she kind of questions herself. She asks Mako, and Mako just honestly says, "I'm not that good at this Avatar Council thing." But as he says, your heart is in the right place. You have to trust. And at this point in time, she believes she's made the right decision. That Unalaq can teach her this skill that's going to help her combat spirits better and become spiritual. And then Unalaq comes in confirming that for her. I have great plans for you. It's a kind of very kind of evil type line to end the episode, but very interesting nonetheless. But yeah, that's the end of the first episode, Rebel Spirit. Um, Not the best first episode of like Avatar overall, but it is a reasonably good one. It sets up the Dark Spirit plot. It sets up Unalaq as not quite being good, even though he's a member of Korra's family. Sets up the really important plot point in the early episodes of the lie told by Tenzin and Tonraq to Korra, as well as set up some stuff with the like Mako breakup, introduce Bolin to Varric. It does set up a lot of stuff that happens over the course of the book. It just maybe isn't the strongest episode overall. I do think the next episode, The Southern Lights, which I'm going to be reviewing in a few days, doing commentary for in a few days, is a very, very good episode. But yeah, that's the end of my first episode commentary. Definitely let me know in the comments below what you want me to talk about more in this series. Obviously, this first one, and this is the first video. I just talked about more or less whatever came into my mind, what was happening on screen. What do you want me to talk more about? The characters, the plot, stuff like that, little trivia points, and maybe I'll adjust the kind of style that I do them in as the thing goes on. But yep, thanks for listening, and bye.